Behind some of the most crucial wars, one country keeps being mentioned: Iran. On April 1, Israel launched its latest attack on Iran in the two countries' ongoing shadow war. Israeli airstrike that flattened a section of Iran's embassy complex in Damascus reportedly killed at least 12 people. Among the dead was Mohammad Reza Zahidi, who headed Iran's military operations in Syria and Lebanon, where he worked for decades and became a close interlocutor with Hezbollah and its leader, Hassan Nasrallah. The strike also killed Mohammad Hadi Haji Rahimi, Zahidi's deputy, and at least 5 other officers in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, popularly known as the IRG. Israel crossed a new line with the strike on Iran's diplomatic compound, which Iran and many other governments see as tantamount to striking Iranian territory itself. The decision to target high-level officials at that location may reflect the Israeli government's belief that now is its moment to act against Iranian military targets, wherever they may be, with relative impunity. Experts fear that Israelis are underestimating the unpredictability of the current regional climate. The attack may prove to be a miscalculation that can lead to dangerous outcomes, not just for Israel, but for the entire region. The scale and nature of Israeli attacks have shifted over the years. From focusing on striking Iranian weapon transfers and munition sites, Israeli attacks are now targeting key operational and intelligence leaders in Iran's network, including senior Iranian military personnel. So where did it all begin? Currently, there are 3 major wars going on in the Middle East. Israel battling Hamas in Gaza, Israel battling Hezbollah in Lebanon and Syria, Israel battling Houthis in Yemen. And now, Middle East is waiting with a bated breath for Iran to directly retaliate against Israel after the Israeli forces bombed the Iranian embassy in Syrian capital Damascus, killing 7 Iranian commanders, including Mohammad Reza Zahidi. This has potentially waged a war between Israel and Iran.
Increasingly lethal attacks on Iran-linked targets in Syria have been attributed to Israel, especially since the current conflict with Hamas in Gaza began on 7th of October.
Iran and Israel are among the biggest military powers in the Middle East, but they are very different. The Islamic Iranian regime denies Israel's right to exist, which is the only majority Jewish state in the world.
تلاش‌های مذبوحانه هم مثل این کاری که در سوریه مرتکب شدن که البته سیریشو خواهند خورد.
But the conflict is about much more than Jews and Muslims. It's also about influence in the region, and about Israel's #1 ally, the U.S.
We do have confidence that the Israelis can do this and learn from their mistakes and understand and better plan for future operations, whether it be in Gaza or elsewhere.
Let's unravel what's behind it and what the conflict is really about. For decades, Israel and Iran have fought a shadow war across the Middle East, trading attacks by land, sea, air, and in cyberspace. Iran has largely used foreign proxies to strike Israeli interests. Meanwhile, targeted assassinations of Iranian military leaders and nuclear scientists have been a key part of Israel's strategy. Experts believe Iran could respond to the embassy attack in Syria by accelerating its nuclear program, which Tehran has ramped up since 2018, when the then U.S. President Donald Trump abandoned the 2015 Iran nuclear deal designed to constrain it in return for economic benefits.
We have terminated a terrible, terrible deal that should have never, ever been made.
However, the 2 most dramatic steps: 1. increasing the purity of its enriched uranium to 90%, which is considered bomb grade. And 2, reviving work to design an actual weapon could backfire and invite Israeli or U.S. strikes. Either one of those would be viewed by Israel and by the U.S. as a decision to acquire a bomb. Is that a risk Iran would take? Nobody knows yet. On January 3, 2020, Qasem Soleimani, an Iranian major general, was killed by an American drone strike near Baghdad International Airport in Iraq while traveling to meet Iraqi Prime Minister Adil Abdul-Mahdi. Soleimani was commander of the Quds Force, which is one of the 5 branches of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is designated as a terrorist organization by both the United States and European Parliament. Soleimani was considered the second most powerful person in Iran, subordinate to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Israel killed Iran's top nuclear scientist, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, in November 2021, and followed up with the assassination of a Revolutionary Guards commander, Colonel Sayed Khordei, in May 2022. Fast forward October 2023. Iran and Israel reportedly carried out a number of covert attacks and counterattacks in the years following General Soleimani's death. In December 2023, Iran accused Israel of killing a high-level military figure, Brigadier General Sayed Razi Mousavi, in a missile strike outside Damascus. A senior advisor to the Revolutionary Guards, General Mousavi was described as having been a close associate of General Soleimani and was said to have helped oversee the shipment of arms to Hezbollah. Back-and-forth attacks ratcheted up, and in January 2024, the U.S. launched a drone strike in Baghdad that killed a senior figure in an Iran-linked militant group. The attack came days after an explosion in a suburb Lebanon's Beirut that killed Salah al-Arari, a Hamas leader, along with 2 commanders from that group's armed wing. The blast was the first such assassination of a top Hamas official outside the West Bank and Gaza in recent years. Officials from Hamas, Lebanon, and the United States ascribed the attack to Israel, which did not publicly confirm involvement. Al-Aruri was the most senior Hamas figure to be killed, since Israel vowed to destroy the organization after October 7. After Israel declared independence in 1948, Iran was actually among the first Muslim-majority countries that recognized the new state. So, what happened then? The Iranian Revolution in 1979 turned everything upside down when the Western-backed Shah regime was toppled. Ruhollah Khomeini, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, saw Israel as part of the so-called West in the middle of the majority Muslim world as a problem. And ever since, the Iranian regime doesn't recognize Israel as a state. Hamas is not the only group in the region that gets funding and arms from Iran. These so-called proxy armies include Islamic Jihad in Gaza and the West Bank, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Syrian Armed Forces, Popular Mobilization Force in Iraq, and Houthis in Yemen. Let's travel a bit further to the north, to the Lebanon-Israel border region. This area in southern Lebanon is under the control of Islamist militant group Hezbollah, which is, like Hamas, backed by Iran. And then there are the Houthis, which operate mainly in Yemen. The hatred against Israel often goes hand in hand with hatred against the United States. Meanwhile, Yemen-based Houthis have targeted Israeli-linked ships in the Red Sea. This puts Iran in proxy confrontation with Israel. But does that also mean the Iranian regime itself could act against Israel directly at some point?